What's up, guys? Welcome to today's speed build. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today we are over in Willowcreek and I am building a base game only 3-generational house on a 20 by 15 lot. So we kind of have a lot going on here, and this is the first time I've built such a large family home on such a small lot. The home in itself does not look very large from the outside, but the family on the inside is a large family. We have 2 parents, 2 teenagers, which they are twins. They end up sharing a room, and then they also have a toddler, and that is it for their kids, but they do have a grandparent that lives here as well. I was thinking this is probably the father of the mom that is living here as well. I have so much fun building 3-generational houses. I don't know why I love to build them so much, but I do. They're like one of my favorite houses to build in The Sims. And it was really fun challenging myself trying to build a house for such a large family on a smaller lot. This is the first time I'm building a 3-generational house on a 20 by 15. So yeah, like I was saying, it was fun to challenge myself in that way. I have definitely built this style of house before, probably a couple of times. It's safe to say this is my go-to style of house. If I'm not sure what I want to build, but I know I want to build something, this is usually what I end up coming out with. I almost did a whole wraparound porch, but I decided against that, and I just placed another section of house on the side to cut off the porch that would have led to the backyard. I really wanted to add a privacy fence, and it's possible to add a privacy fence if you have a wraparound porch, but I just don't think it looks as nice with a wraparound porch instead of having it right up against like the side of the house. As for the color scheme on the outside of this house, I almost went with like the stone on the bottom. I do end up keeping that, but the paneling color on the top, I almost went with this like light green. I think it looks pretty nice, but there was something about it I just wasn't feeling this day. It's not that it looks bad, I just wanted blue instead, and so I ended up going for a darker blue. If I do a blue Suburban, a lot of the time I do a light blue paneling, but I wanted to change it up a little bit and add like this darker blue, and once I did, I felt like it came together a lot better, especially if I used that darker roof color. I really wanted to use like a darker brown privacy fence, and I was trying my hardest to match the staircase and the front porch like wood with the privacy fence, but the colors were not matching up as good as I wanted to, so I gave up and I said, you know what, I'm just going with the same light brown woods or beige tan, whatever you want to call it, that I usually add. I wanted it to be a little bit different, but you know what, you can't go wrong with this. I think this combination looks so well with any color house that you choose, whether it's blue or green or yellow. Any color looks so good with this lighter brown wood. I just love light brown wood so much, especially in The Sims. It looks so nice. Now, as for the backyard and the landscaping for that matter, we do keep it simple and sweet for this build, and the backyard is on the tiny side, but sometimes that's nice to have smaller backyards. Like I was saying in the last video, you don't always need a super giant backyard in The Sims, you know. Sometimes you just need something small, something that works. And so we do have like a back porch area that I add like a grill and a table, and then I add my typical oak tree in the backyard, and then I add a couple of like planter boxes. I was thinking when the toddler does grow up to be a child, you could totally remove the planter boxes and add a monkey bar set instead. I only didn't just because we only have a toddler and then 2 teens. We don't have a child yet, so it really wasn't needed as of yet, so I left it out of this build. So we pretty much have the outside all put together at this point, and I actually decided against this sliding glass door for this build just to change it up a little bit. It really helped me change the floor plan a little bit and make it a little bit different than I normally do. I always have the sliding glass door facing the back side instead of on the side of the house. And so putting it on the side really, it let me change things up quite a bit, and I really liked that. So this floor plan came together very quickly. Sometimes I have a hard time getting the floor plan together. It just, whatever I try to design it like just does not work out, whether like it's functionality or it just doesn't look right, or like, oh no, I can't get to that room unless I go through this room, that sort of thing. And I always have to play around with it for quite a bit of time. But this one, as you can see, it came together so quickly, which is always nice. I mean, definitely no complaints there. But on the subject of the back door, I did want to mention that I don't think I have ever used that particular door before, so it was really fun trying to use items in this build that I don't normally do, and you will see that as a trend, I guess is a good word to call it, in this house. You'll see me trying to use items I don't normally use. For example, the living room, I do not use the same base game couch I always use. Instead, I ended up using a different base game couch, my second favorite, but I kind of don't like it. A second favorite is a strong word. I really don't like it too much. I don't like any base game couch, to be totally honest, and if you're a returning viewer of mine, then you know how I feel about the base game couches. They are kind of horrendous. Like, they just look super boxy or too modern, not enough suburban, and definitely does not look realistic. I could probably go on, but I will spare you guys. That is the main reasons why I do not like the base game couches. So now that we have the layout finished, I am starting on all of the furnishings in the house, and we are starting on the kitchen, which is typical for me. I always tend to start in the kitchen for some reason. I love the kitchen. It's the heart of the home, that is where like a lot of the family gather together. So I love focusing on the kitchen first, and then I branch out to each of the other rooms in the house. So as we are starting on the furnishings, this is the perfect time to go ahead and go over a little bit of a backstory for the family that lives in this house. As we have already discussed, this is a 3-generational family that lives in this particular house, and the grandpa has not always lived here. This is kind of a recent thing. He's getting older. He didn't need such a big house that he had previous. He lived there with his wife, who is now, no longer with us, and his kids are now grown, so he really didn't need that 2-story house that he used to have. And so his daughter, this is one of 3 children, and she was the first to offer for him to go ahead and sell that house that he was living in, which was her childhood home, and go ahead and come live with them. They didn't necessarily have a spare room available, but they do have twin teenage boys, and so they did have their own rooms. And then of course their little toddler had her own room too, but they decided to place the twins together since they are so close as it is anyways. It's not a huge deal. One actually had a loft bed as it was, and the other one had just a normal bed, so it kind of worked out perfectly. And so they decided to put those 2 together in the room downstairs, and then give Grandpa the room upstairs that has a bathroom attached to that room. Now that room is relatively small, but it does have its own bathroom, so it's better than nothing. So Grandpa used to work as just a regular businessman in the business career, but he has a true passion for playing guitar, and he has actually taught his grandson. One of them is into playing the guitar, but the other one is not. So the one that does love instruments and music and really wants to make a career out of that himself, he was actually taught by his grandpa how to play the guitar. So it's pretty awesome having those 2 live together, and they love playing music and creating music together all the time. It is so much fun for both of them, and it's pretty much the highlight of Grandpa's day at this time, and he absolutely enjoys that time with his grandson. The other teen is actually into like reading books and writing, and he really wants to become a famous author when he gets older. And he kind of gets that trait from his mom. His mom really loves to read. She's not really a writer, but she does love just sitting back and relaxing and reading, maybe sitting on the back porch just listening to nature while reading her books. That is one of her favorite hobbies anyway. She also really enjoys gardening, but not really growing flowers per se. She really likes to grow like herbs and veggies and fruits to be able to cook with in her kitchen. She used to cook with her mom all the time when her mom was still around. Unfortunately, like I said, the mom is no longer with them, but she has a lot of fond memories cooking in the kitchen with her mom, and she learned a lot of family recipes from her mom that she will now be able to pass on to her daughter when her daughter is old enough. And as for her husband, he actually has taken over the business her dad used to own. He actually owned a business. He was in the investor part of the business career, and so he invested in a lot of different businesses, but he had one particular business that he built from the ground up that was almost like a baby to him, and the only person he would trust to take it over was actually his son-in-law. And so that is exactly what happened when the dad retired not too long ago, probably just a few short years before he moved in here. And now they are all in the same house, living as one big happy family, and they could not be more happy about it. They absolutely love having the grandpa live here with them. It really adds a lot to this family. He is a very fun grandpa. He's not a normal grandpa. He might have owned a business, he might have been an investor, so he knows how to switch from the business role to the fun grandpa role, because like I said, he does love playing the guitar too, so he really is like the best of both worlds. Actually, his business, like the employees at his old business, would not even recognize him in his everyday attire because he totally changes it up. He has almost like an alternative look, especially for an older man that supposedly is all about business. So when he goes to work, he has a suit on and slick back hair. But out of work, he lets his hair go crazy and he has like skinny jeans on and a band t-shirt. So he definitely plays two different personalities, and he does it really well too. And so of course his grandkids thinks he is the coolest grandpa that is around. Like nobody else has a grandpa as cool as he is. Oh, and as a side note, I also added an easel in the parents' bedroom, and I actually did that as just another like skill building item. I wasn't thinking anybody in the house per se liked painting. Maybe the toddler, as she gets older, she'll get into painting, but it's really just an additional skill building item. It was better than adding just a plant there or a chair or something that's not really usable. I really wanted to make it as playable as possible. And so I added an easel, and then outside I added a telescope on their little like back balcony. As of now, I am working on the toddler's bedroom, and I did something a little bit different with the wallpaper. I didn't want to do just flowers all around. It gets a little bit too busy, but I didn't want to do just plain paint either. So I did like a mixture, and then the plain walls, I tried to match as perfectly as I could with the flowers that are actually on the wallpaper. And I mean, with the selection of paint swatches that I have, I think I did a pretty good job, but I really like the mixture between the blank walls, like just straight solid paint, and then the flowered wallpaper. I think it looks super cute together like that. I also added a dollhouse. I usually do. I always add the dollhouses. I think they are so cute. They're such a good touch to like toddler or child builds if I can fit them in a room, because they are very large. So they don't always fit, but if they do fit, I love to use them. And my favorite one is actually, believe it or not, just the normal dollhouse, like the cheapest one. It's not the castle. The castle is cute, whatever. It's a little bit too much. I really like the simplicity of this just regular house looking dollhouse. And of course the pink swatch is my favorite. And then I added a toy box and some building blocks, and I think that should be enough to raise all of their skills, because you can like talk to your toddler to raise the social skill, and then obviously walking, they have to just walk around to build that. The creativity, I believe they can build from the dollhouse if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember 100%, but I think they can actually like earn creativity skill from the dollhouse. And then the blocks, they can gain their mental and motor skills. So, and then the potty, of course. Oh, I don't think I added a potty in here anywhere. So if you download this, you'll have to add a potty. I'm pretty sure I forgot to do that. But if you add a potty, then that will finish all of the skill building items that you actually need for the toddler. And after the toddler's room, I furnished the grandpa's room, and as you can see, it is a very small room. I only fit a single bed in there, but that is all he needs. Grandpa's not doing any extracurricular activities to where he needs a bigger bed. And if he does, there's a shower, so he's fine. He could probably find a bush outside too. But single bed is all that he really needs. I did add like 2 different guitars in there. He just seems like he would be a collector of guitars. And I would assume that he had a lot more at his old house, but he sold a large portion of them and just kept his 2 favorite ones. And then he also gave his grandson one of his guitars too. He actually gave his grandson his electric guitar because that is his grandson's favorite type of guitar. The grandpa, he really loves his acoustic guitars. Grandpa's an old-fashioned man that way. We are now working on the living room, and like I was saying, I did end up using a different type of couch than I normally use. I usually use like the basic super boxy looking couches just because they are so versatile and the most suburban couch you can get, and this one is a little bit too modern for the types of houses I like to build, but I am trying to change it up, and these are my second favorite, so I went ahead and decided to use these instead of the others, and I think they look really, really nice. They definitely match the color scheme I have going on with the beige and the blues. Almost perfectly, to be honest. They match really, really well. Oh, as a side note, I did realize something as I was building this house. So I put the living room, well, and the dining room, the majority of the house I put up on a platform. So like you first walk in, it's like level with the porch, but then I put a platform up just to give it a little bit of dimension, and then the kitchen I put down back on like the level platform instead of it being up. And usually when I do that, you probably seen the staircase also raise up with the platform if it's directly next to it. Well, I did not realize that there is actually a workaround around that particular bug. Usually I'm just like, oh well, I can't do a platform, let me just put it back down, and then like I'm kind of sad about it because I love to use the platforms, and then I'm like, I just forget about it. But I actually was able to figure out that you can replace the staircase, so place it not directly next to the wall where that platform is on the other side, if that makes sense. You place it like a tile down, and then once you place it, it's going to be level with the actual porch and not with the platform on the other side like I have in the living room. And then you just take the little arrow and you slide it over and it works. Like, it's literally so easy. I can't believe I missed that, but I'm glad that I was able to figure it out anyways. And I know it's kind of hard to understand without actually seeing me do it in real time anyways. You've seen it sped up but that's one of those things that I could totally do in like a building tutorial if I ever do one of those again. The last time I did it, it was in the beginning of my YouTube page, and so it's probably not very good basically is what I'm trying to say. So I am thinking about doing another tutorial at some point. after I move, because I am moving in a couple of weeks. So you might see a lot of these like simpler builds from me for the next couple of weeks, just so, you know, it doesn't take too much of my time. I'll be busy. But once I move and I have a lot more time, I'm kind of thinking about doing another tutorial. And so that is one of those things that I could include. But on the subject of doing like a tutorial type of video, I am curious if that is something you guys would like to see or not. So let me know down in the comments below if you would like a tutorial from me or not, or whatever. I'm just kind of curious, so let me know. So I am now just finishing up the exterior of the build, but I do want to take a quick second to talk about the teens room. I did finish that up pretty quickly. I obviously tried to make it look like a normal teen boys room, so it's a little bit on the simple side, but they do have like posters on the wall, and we have a computer in their room. They're the lucky ones, they have the only computer in the house. So if anyone else needs to use a computer, I figured they could probably just go in there. Or maybe if you download this, you could place a laptop at the kitchen table. Sometimes that is what I do. And then I also, of course, place the guitar for the one that loves playing the guitar. And that is it for this build. We have reached the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed today's build. Of course, if you did, please be sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you have not already. I hope you all have an amazing day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.